Yeah, thank you for joining me again. You were here a couple of weeks ago, and along with Lim, and I'm telling you, you ladies and Lim set some stuff out there. Put the atmosphere, set it right for becoming better economically. And I got a lot of text messages and inbox messages saying, why are you all done? I want more. I want more. So that's good. So I want to thank you, but I want to welcome our audience and then welcome you all again. We have with us tonight Dr. Dawn Baldwin Gibson, who's going to tell you a little bit about herself. Alderman Jameesha Harris is going to tell you a little bit about herself, and business owner Laquita Courman. So ladies, why don't we jump right in and tell us a little bit about yourself, starting with you, Dr. Dawn.
Well, first of all, let me just say it is such an amazing to Pastor Angie. I am just such a huge fan of yours because you set the bar of excellence so high, and that is what we need. So thank you for allowing me to join these amazing women that I'm here with. Councilwoman Harris already knows that I fan talk her all the time, so she knows that I'm kind of like her groupie from afar. She's like, you're not even in the city of New Bern, but that's all right. I don't have to be. One day I'll be able to vote for you on a larger scale. So that's another conversation for another day. And then to my dear friend, businesswoman, Miss Laquita Courman, she knows I just honor the work that she does because it's so necessary and needed for this time. So I just thank you all. My name is Dawn Baldwin Gibson. I am the wife to Pastor Anthony Gibson. We have a church, Peloton Ministries. We have a school, Peloton Academic Center for both the work we do in trauma-informed care. And I just think that even in COVID-19, this is a really important time for us to be thinking about economics and thinking about how the Lord's word reminds us that he will cause us to flourish in the land of our affliction. And so this is, I think, going to be another great conversation about some things that we can do to position ourselves to be ready and able to conquer this economic mantle that I believe is here and available for us now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. We are glad to have you here. All right, Councilwoman.
Thank you. So I am the Alderwoman for Ward 2 for the City of New Bern, Jameesha Harris. I am also one of the founders for Young Urban Professionals, which is our nonprofit. Our mission is to go into marginalized communities and teach young entrepreneurs how to start and maintain their business. And then we also make sure that our members are sewing back into their community with community service, whether past projects were helping to paint JT Barber, doing sweat equity at someone's business. We make sure that we educate our members. We have different webinars that we do. And then we also make sure that we do networking events. That's pretty much it. I'm just really excited to be on here with you beautiful Black women. And I mean, it's an honor to be able to be one of the boxes on this screen to talk to you, ladies. Miss Angela Scott, you know you are one of my favorites. And Miss Dawn, I love the work that you do. And I finally got to meet Miss Laquita at my event. So it's really exciting just to pull us all together for a great conversation. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. And business owner, the chair, the deaconess, the mother, introduce yourself.
Yes. I have to say that I am a mother of many, right? Yes, I have some beautiful children with my husband, Anthony Courman. But I'm also a business owner. I have my own private practice called Great Place to Start Behavioral Health Services. There I am a licensed clinical social worker, and my specialty is trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. and which we, for short, TFCBT, is like what we like to call it. But I enjoy working with kids who have been sexually abused, physically abused, have severe neglect, domestic violence, loss, usually any type of traumatic event that has been distressful for a child or an adult. We work with. Also, I do general therapy, and that would be anybody who's dealing with anxiety, mood disorders, different types of diagnosis that we cover. And I have another clinician in the office too that also will be working and specializing in trauma too, which we're excited about. And I also, my husband and I are also therapeutic foster parents. And we actually do intensive alternative family treatment, which is the highest level of treatment for kids who are in need of placement. So I also do that as well. But I just enjoy my community. I enjoy working with youth. That's just my passion, it's my excitement. I just, and people in general. And I love for people to succeed. And that's what my business is about. You know, when you walk in that door, you are strengthened, and that's what we're here for. But I am too, just enjoy being in the presence of these ladies. It's just awesome. I got a double privilege because Pastor Angie is my pastor. so I'm privileged. And so I enjoy just being in her presence. You can't do nothing but grow in her presence. And I'm always honored to be there.
Amen to that.
Wonderful,
Amen.
wonderful. So glad to have you all. My goodness, I love what Laquita says. She says, I'm a mother of many. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you certainly are. And I'm glad to have you all. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I am Pastor Angela Scott. I am the founder of, well, first of all, my husband and I started the ministry, Refreshing Lives Church. We just celebrated, 15 years.
Wow.
Praise the Lord. Exciting, exciting, exciting. And I'm just honored to do ministry with Bishop Ronald Lee Scott, who was my high school sweetheart. And my mother introduced us to one another in high school. We broke up in high school as well. And 20 years had no contact. 20 years. We went to the same college. And I think we saw each other maybe twice on campus. And the Lord just saw fit to bring us back together. And so, you know, one of the things he said to me then, and I remind myself of this because he said, listen, I know what I said. He said, listen, I'm not letting you go this time. Well, where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. But along with that, I am the founder of A Better Me Empowerment Services. And we serve as the gateway to forward movement. And we do that through summits, which are conferences, through surges, which are specifically focused on a particular topic. When we do our conferences, we focus on spiritual, mental, physical, social, and financial, the total being. And then we do segments, which we're doing now. And recently, I've just publicly launched the sessions because I am a certified professional coach. So we can talk a little bit more about that later. Okay, but want to get right into this evening. And, you know, when we were together a couple of weeks ago, oh my goodness, you all were stirring it up, and it was so awesome. We talk about, you know, economics from an ethnic perspective, because of course, all four of us want everyone to excel and to succeed. But we were focusing then, and we are coming back to focus a little bit more on our ethnicity, because we understand that within our ethnicity, there are some gaps. And any way we can help fill those gaps, that's what we want to do. We recognize that we don't have all the answers, but that we do know, we know, and we want to be able to share that with the people. So since we were last together, I have to ask you all, have there been any collaborations? I understand Jameesha and you and Laquita ended up hooking up at some point. Can you all talk a little bit about that? Or have there been any other collaborations?
So the Young Urban Professionals, along, because Talina Massey is the president, she's also one of the founders. We didn't know what was going on with Juneteenth. A lot of stuff got canceled, but I decided I wanted to do a town hall in my ward, and then it was gonna rain. So last minute, we were able to switch over to the Omega Center, and we had an amazing attendance. We had free food, bounce houses. We told the story about Juneteenth. We even stood up and sung the Negro, what's the word?
National anthem, Negro anthem.
Yes, and we followed CDC guidelines. We served over probably 200 people. We did voter registration, and we did fireworks. It was really, really exciting, and we're just gonna pray to God that next year we're able to shut the streets down and have a festival just to celebrate our independence. And so we'll be definitely looking for tons of people to collaborate on that. But I did just want to say to caveat on something that you were saying in regards to talking about economic development for basically Black people. I was on our executive call last night for YUP, and one of the founders basically was saying, like, we should not have to be uncomfortable anymore pointing out the disparities for Black people and the fact that we want to uplift Black business or uplift Black communities to be able to own. Because I know we used to say minority, and it's not that we're separating ourselves, but in those minorities, we're picking out something that's relatable to us, I would say. And right now we're focusing on Black business. Because I know I used to be very uncomfortable. I always had to say minority, but I'm proud to say Black business, that I support Black business, that I want to uplift Black business. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I know some people do get uncomfortable, but it's okay. we can talk about it.
And you know what we're doing? We're actually helping ourselves and others.
Right.
But we get to the place where, without degrading or pulling anyone down, because that's not what we're doing, but we are taking the time and the opportunity to uplift.
Right.
And we're uplifting, African Americans. We're uplifting. Some people have not been exposed to the good of our culture.
Right.
And I would say, to some degree, that's not any fault of their own. That depends on how you were raised. That depends on a number of things. So when we can come together and be able to speak to the good and be able to cheer one another on, right? Then it's a blessing and it's fulfilling. And what will it do? It will cause other African Americans and perhaps others who are not African Americans to, number one, do the same. And then number two, some of them will start businesses and be able to thrive in business because this format is going to encourage them. So thank you for saying that. Before I change, there's something I failed to mention. Dr. Dawn, you were recently nominated for an award. I read that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And congratulations to you. Woohoo!
Thank you. Thank you. I understand that I got a nomination for the 1 million award through someone at the governor's office, and I'm still very, yeah, you just keep doing the work, and when something like that happens, you're kind of like, wow. So I thank the Lord for it, but there's just so much work to be done, and just to kind of come behind, if I can, what the councilwoman has said. Is that the councilwoman? I'm sorry, I meant city council, but I mean council sounded county. Okay, well, anyway.
I piggybacked on it one time, knowing better.
See. And so I think it is so important for us to really be having this conversation. I honor you, Pastor Angie, for having this, because we really have to be reminded that our communities were once very much flourishing, and that there was a time in our communities where there were many Black businesses. There weren't one or two. There were many of every category. And recently I was doing some family history and found in the Freeman's Bureau that my great great grandmother was in the Freeman's Bureau selling like different materials and fabrics on South Front Street in the late 1800s. And they had to cross everything out because everything was male, like you were the husband to the wife to. They had to cross all of it out because it was so unusual for there to be a woman. And so when we start thinking about where we are, that this is a place where people of color came to be prosperous in the city of New Bern, then we have an obligation, because now, I didn't talk about my children, I feel so bad. You know, we have 3 kids. My son will probably be like, Mama, you didn't even say my name.
You have to handle that, Dr. Dawn.
Yes, take care of that.
Caitlin is now 15. We have a daughter, Hannah Elizabeth, that is with the Lord. And we have 2 absolutely amazing grandsons. And I find right now that what I'm trying to do is to gear their minds toward ownership. And so when they come into school, Philip, who is only 4, says, "This is my school."
I love it.
I'm like, "You go to school?" He said, "No, because my grandma told me this is mine." It's already in his mind. And that's what we have to do for our children. And we have to set the example, because we are not allowing our children to be slaves, not slaves to a prison system, not slaves to poverty, not slave to lack of. We are equipping our children to master the space that God has put them in.
Amen.
Oh, that's good. Good.
Yes.
Jump on, Laquita. Jump on in there.
Yes. That right there rides us on generational trauma. So that's just my cue. If we can break generational trauma, you know, we got it made. I mean, there's no stopping us, because it starts, you know, sometimes we're thinking that there has to be an incident or something that happens to our children, to our Black children. No, it doesn't. It can be verbal, what you're saying to your child, how you're having your discussions. And right now, with everything that's going on, even with the COVID-19, because we're all in the same place together, and look what has happened during this time. We had a crucial incident that has occurred that has affected not only the adults, not only Black adults, but Black children, because of the way they're hearing it. So we can either decide how we're going to break the generational trauma by how we're speaking to our Black children and what they're seeing. If you're seeing an incident, anything over and over again, you know, you're going to have some reaction. And sometimes they're not always conscious. We're not always conscious about what we're doing. There are a lot of things that are happening with our kids that we don't understand. And we're trying to figure out why they don't want to do this, or why they don't want to go to school. Why they don't see education as something that's important. But if you're seeing all the time that a Black man is on the ground with a knee in his neck, and that sometimes they're not saying that, you know, the reason why there's fear, there's a way that we have to say it. And as Jameesha said, Councilwoman, Alderwoman said, we're not going to be scared to or fearful about saying Black, because we do have to get more comfortable with that. Where in my world, that's called gradual exposure. We have to expose our children to more of this type of talk, these type of people. They have to see this more, because they can't just see the news. If we think about it, when something's happening, it's always something negative. And we are news carriers. Right? Something happens by our culture, think about it. Look how strong of a people that we can be if we carry the right news.
Right.
So if we start by looking at how we're breaking the generational trauma that has occurred and that has continued from generation, and how our some of our grandparents or great grandparents have said, no, don't do that. You can't do, oh, they don't like Black people, or you can't go in there. And once you hear that, what does a child think? How
Right.
do a child perceive themselves?
Yes,
You know,
so
so when my son says, you know, well, Mom, you know, why do they do that? Why don't they like Black people? I said, you know, sometimes, son, people fear something that's strong, beautiful, and of quality. We
Mm.
have to change how we see Black. Black is quality.
Mhm.
Black is bold. Black is beautiful.
Mhm.
And they have to see that we can do business too. That's why we have to come to the forefront. That's why there's no more hiding Black businesses. We have to get out there so that our children can see this. If
Yeah.
that's all they see is out there, that, you know, there's only white owners, you know, when I go in a store, just like a kid said to me that he walked in my business and he said, how come you don't have any white clinicians in here? How come there's not no, I said, so I asked him, I said, so when you went to the doctor's office, did you see any white doctors, any Black doctors in there? And he said, no. I said, did you ask how come there wasn't any? He said, no, I didn't. You know, that says a lot.
Right.
That says a lot. And I told him, I said, if there is a white clinician that meets the qualifications that for my private practice, then no, I don't mind hiring them. But right now, these are they met those qualifications to work in my private practice. So go ahead, Jameesha.
So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about that, because everybody done talked about their family. I am married, been together 9 years. I got 3 kids. Let me just throw that out there. But one of the things I am big about is mental health. And, you know, I do have a son that is autistic, ADHD, but the generational curse conversation, especially what's going on right now, what is some advice that you can give to, say, a husband or a father that has Black sons and has to have these uncomfortable conversations, but may or may not have had those conversations from his parents? How do you address, or how do you address some of the things that are going on with these children, but to you as a Black man, you're numb to it? Like, you know, you hear what's going on, you maybe take one day and it's like, okay, it's nothing new, it's not a shock. And, you know, to me, I feel like that's a problem within itself, is that there's a lack of emotion of what's going on. But, you know, Black men, they're very strong. They have to be, especially when they're the foundation of the family. So for that, you know, you have the mother, but I feel like there's some conversations a man is supposed to have with a child that's a son, and, you know, women can't necessarily do that. So what's the advice that you can give in regards to breaking those generational curses, to not be numb to some of the situations that go on, or to be able to have these conversations, period, as a Black man to a Black child, a Black son?
let me jump in before she answers it and says, so I can bring it together, because someone watching may say, well, that doesn't have anything to do with Black economics, but it really does. It does, because there are things out there that will stunt our forward movement. There are things out there that will pause it, and these are some of the things. And so, and if we don't deal with it now, and if we don't know how to communicate effectively with our children to help empower them, then, you know, us talking about starting Black businesses or continuing in Black businesses, it's going to be null and void. So I just want to say that before she moves forward and answer her question.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I would say in those situations, because everyone's used to a routine and what they do. And it's not that no one wants to make the changes in what they, and making things better, especially for your children, for your family. We want to make things better for our family. And so for male, it's very difficult in our society. You know, it's very difficult. And not saying that that's an excuse, but if we look at the generational trauma, the things that they've been fed all along, then we understand why they react or respond. So it's in changing our response to the situation. So what I say all the time to families that come in who want to make a change is you got to sit down at the table and make a plan. You have to plan to change. You have to plan it.
That's it.
Yeah, and that's the key to this. So if you plan those times where you're sitting down, where you're talking about what's going on, but not only what's happening in society, but who they are. Because if we don't explain to them that who they are, so that's why I just don't say to my son, you know, oh, they just don't like Black people. That's not it.
Right.
People fear what they don't know.
Right.
You know, and you're great. You know, sometimes they fear kings. How many kings have been trying to be killed? How many people want to assassinate a president? They fear the unknown. When you're great, they fear you. So you walk in your greatness until they get their understanding. You know, so you have to teach them that there's quality.
That's a gem.
Yeah.
Walk into your greatness until they understand you. I'm gonna put that on Facebook. That's a gem right there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So sitting down with a plan until he gets it. Because if you sit down as a family and you talk about what needs to happen at certain times, those family dinners are powerful. You know, we do our family dinners. You know, our bishop talk about family dinners. You know, so that's very powerful. The family dinner, people talk when they're full and they're happy, but cook a good dinner. Don't cook.
Don't order pizza.
Yeah, a pizza. You know, a pizza. Do something. But plan to sit down and talk about what needs to happen in your family so that the change can start to occur. Because if you get used to doing that, then he'll get used to doing that, and it just won't be. Because sometimes it's, you know, avoidance sometimes helps us to keep healthy. But although it's not, but it helps us to feel that way. So avoidance, you know, we do a lot of avoidance. And what we've decided as a people now, as Black people, we're no longer going to avoid, you know, being Black. You know, you're going to see us. You're going to see us. So, and our children need to see us out here. They need to see us, because gradual exposure is the key to curing most symptoms. If you expose yourself. And we always give a scenario, like you go to the beach for the first time. When you get in the beach water, first time you touch it, you go, what? You move back. You're like, oh, that's you know, cold. But you go a little bit further and a little bit further. And we need to keep on until we're swimming as a Black people. We need to expose our people, because we have to break the generational trauma. It has to be broken.
That's good.
And it definitely, like Pastor Scott said, that dealing with that, you know, because, you know, I would say in history, we have kind of been beat down as a Black community, that we are not as worthy as we are. So even on the economic level, it makes you say, like, well, I have this great business idea, but you know what? I'm probably not good enough to be able to do this. And so to kill those generational curses and, you know, the power of a tongue, biblically wise, it's like we have to be more confident and know that God made us and that we can utilize our gift that he blessed us with to start a business. And so, you know, and I have to learn. I'm big because I'm quick to be negative with my tongue, but I'm learning that I want to speak nothing but power of positivity, and I could do this. This is what's going to happen. And I think we have to do that with our children and wives. We have to do that to our Black husbands. So I can see the connection of what Pastor Angela was saying, most definitely.
Yeah, and you know, it's really important too that we really do guard our heart, because out of our heart flows the issues of life. Well, what goes into our heart begins with our thought life. So we have to now make that adjustment in what we're thinking. And when we make that adjustment in how we think and how we feel about ourselves, it will change conversation. Or how we feel and how we think about others, it will change our conversation. I can remember years ago, you know, growing up in an environment where my mother always encouraged me. I mean, she would tell me, there's nothing you can't do. You can do anything you want to do. You know, don't tell yourself and don't let anybody else tell you you can't. If you can't do it, it's because A, it wasn't for you to do it, or B, you know, it's somebody else's assignment. But other than that, you can do it. And I lived my life like that for several years. And then I got into a swamp, because here's the deal. What you hear the most, that's what you're going to conform to. And one thing Bishop always says is, which is what Deaconess Laquita, that which you don't know, you have a tendency to criticize, right? So if you don't know it, you know, you criticize it, but your exposure expands your expectations. So when you get exposed to things, it expands your expectations and it begins to build. So I went from being encouraged to now hearing something that was the opposite of, and I began to take on those characteristics. Well, it took me years to do a dump and recognize that's not who I am.
Right.
And so I had to change my confession, which started with me changing my thought life. And that's what we as a people have to do. We have to think correctly. So one of the filters that I use, and I shared this even in coaching, one of the filters that I use for myself personally is, what is the purpose of that thought? What is the purpose of that thought? If it's going to glorify God, let's just dig a little deeper. If it's going to tear me down or somebody else down, I don't have time for that. So I take it through this filter, and it lines up with the word: cast down imaginations that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God and bring them into captivity unto the obedience of Christ. So we have to actually now not just teach ourselves, but we have to begin to teach our children how to think correctly. And I'm going to tell you, that's going to take some time, because one of the things Bishop says, your old mind been with you longer than your new mind. So you've got to put the work in, right, to get it done. Can it be done? It can be done. And one of the ways we do it, even how we see ourselves from an economic perspective, is we have to begin to be with people of like minds and like faith. So then we move from a transition of not so much, now this is where I am. We move from a transition of, no, you can't hold me back. No. Greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. Now you could go ahead and spend your time trying, and I'm going to go ahead and keep doing what I know to do, but you can't hold me back. But now all of us don't know that and don't know to think that way. So again, platforms like this, businesses like Laquita's, you serving as an alderwoman, Dr. Dawn having a school, all of this is a culmination of that can empower others. And the way it stretches across, watch this, Facebook pages and generations and communities, that's empowering. That in itself is empowering. So I'm glad to have you three ladies today. Let me ask you all something. Yes, go ahead.
So I don't know if Miss Dr. Dawn said it before, but what was it that allowed you to step out on faith and know at that time to open up a school and not feel like you were going to be a failure?
That's a good question.
My husband.
Oh, okay.
My husband literally said, while he was preaching one Sunday, he was like, we're going to start a school. And I was just sitting there. And so this goes exactly to what we've been talking about, the generational trauma, because it's recorded that my great-grandfather, when he came out of slavery, he got together with 2 white men and 2 black men, and they bought property to start the first school for children of color in Pamlico County. But there's no record that the school started. My mother always had this drive that she wanted to start her own school. So in my mind, I was thinking, if they didn't do it, I can't do it. And so I just kept thinking, there's no way it's going to happen, because I hadn't seen it before.
My.
But my husband kept saying, this is what the word of the Lord is. And we are going to do this. Now, I had no idea how it was going to impact children's lives. Like, I didn't realize how much we are conditioned to believing that we can't do.
Right.
I just didn't see it. And how early it starts. At the youngest of ages, you will see scholars, and we call them scholars because that is our expectation for them.
Right.
But now I'm seeing them. They have no explanation other than I know that I can because God created me.
That's it.
So the children that we were told by people in education, they said, oh, they're going to come there. They're going to tear your school up. They don't know how to sit down. Them children ain't never even been written up. And people know we are tough, but we do it in love because we understand that, listen, the same way I'm able to speak up, I will never forget it. Now, I'm telling you, there's some things that stay with you a lifetime.
Right.
People say, how does she have that voice? Yes, I have my mom, I have my dad, my family, I got that. But it's people who we put our children around. I remember when my cousin Angela took me to, it was over at Clinton Chapel in the annex, and I wanted to get on the stage, and I wasn't fearful in a bad way, but I was fearful in a reverence kind of way of your mother because she was so awesome. You know, she was full, when her voice, when she spoke, I still get chills. Do you see that? I still get chills. That's the impact she made on me because she told me, speak up. I can't hear you. And I was just like, speak up. And now I probably people telling me to shh, quiet, but I was raised around people. Like in my church, it was Mr. Cheatham, or it was the Bookers, or the Wallaces, or the those that poured in. And so now that's what we do at the school. That's the reason why we're always bringing people in that look like our scholars, because now they know, I don't really care what people tell you. Somebody told me the other day, they were like, you've never had any problems with race. Some people actually have said that to us over the last few weeks. Because you all keep going. No, it is because we have an understanding that God put an assignment on our lives, but we need more schools. I mean, we don't need to just have, there's not just one private school for people of the predominant white persuasion. There are several. We got to get it, understanding that we need more. There need to be more schools that are saying that our children can learn. And it's not to take anything away from public education. I'm really not doing that because just for a lot of reasons. We need public education, so I'm not taking away, but I am saying that we need specific needs. Our children, we learn differently. We have different articulation of how we understand the world. Yesterday was would have been Tamir Rice's 18th birthday. Our kids know that already. They know what the expectation is for them when they go outside those doors, because they understand that everybody will not see them as a friend. Some will automatically see them as a foe. And so all of that happened because my husband was like, we're not coming off of that. He was like, we've got to do this. But we are not the only ones that need to be doing it. We just helped a church start a school in another county, and they're going to be opening up in August.
Awesome.
We are committed. Yes. So, and they have about 30 kids they're starting off with. I'm so excited, but we need more. That's the whole work that we do in our consultation, is that we are helping churches to figure out how can they maximize the work that they're doing, because I'm telling you, it is not there's one school that looks like ours in this city. There used to be 5 at one time in Duffy Field. 5.
Wow.
And they were exemplary.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. We have work to do, don't we?
Yes.
We have work to do. So let me ask you all then, and you could just jump in, who would like to take this? Identify 3 things that could be done to promote better economics for ethnic business owners. Are there any 3 things that could be done? One that could be done to promote businesses. I know Laquita Facebook page, which was great. What can we do to add to that?
Can I just say one thing right quick?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We've got to change our mindset.
Uh-huh. We must.
Because the mindset is somehow their ice is colder.
Mm.
Mhm.
Their ice got to be colder. Something. That's a mindset.
Mhm. Mhm. That thought life,
Have to
you're
change.
right.
I might go to a restaurant, they mess my order up 5 times. I still go back. But if one thing happens, oh my
One
God,
thing.
blah, 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 blah. I knew it. I shouldn't have done. That's a mindset. We
Yes.
got to change our mindset, because until we understand that
Good.
ownership opens the door to wealth creation, then we are going to be locked in the system of our dollars never circulating in our community more than one time.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's
Oh,
I think that's the biggest thing, because I'm raw. I'm gonna be real, because I'm all about supporting local business, and I think it's very important that we can go to another establishment with our other sisters and brothers, and have the complaints or keep going back. But if there is a problem with someone that you supported that's Black owned, it's like, oh, I'm not dealing with them. That's one thing that Yup does do, is that we hold these seminars and have these conversations with the business owners on how they can have better customer service or be confident in their prices and what they're doing. But I definitely think having pop-ups,
that's good.
utilizing Facebook, any Black business being a part of any sort of chamber of commerce, which would be young urban professionals in New Bern.
Right.
And I know that we're working on the Black business directory. I know everybody wants to know about Black business, but I think if they do marketing and we have pop-ups, and we kind of word of mouth referral, I definitely think that will definitely help increase the income that's coming in for small business. And then we just have to be steadfast in our belief that even though I can go here and maybe get it for a cheaper price, it's going to be worth more coming from my sister and my brother, because of just me as a person knowing that I'm supporting Black business. And I'm okay with that. Like, I can go to Walmart, but if I can get the same thing at a mom and pops, that's where my dollars should go, because I know that they're feeding a family. They're probably putting their children through school. They pay their tithes. And I'm not saying Walmart doesn't do that, but they're not hurting either. So it's important that we need to build up our own community, and we can talk about it, but we got to make sure that we put our money where it's at. And that's why I know, when the stimulus check came out, thank you 45, I took the majority of my money and I went on Facebook and I said, hey, who has a small business so I could buy something? And I spent hundreds of dollars on Black business to make sure that I stimulated, because that's what the money was for, stimulated their pockets, because I was blessed to be able to do that. And I just think it's important that we do as much as we can to support Black business, because it is a pivotal moment for us right now.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. Laquita, did you want to jump in and add to that?
Yes, I was, piggyback off of what, they both of them said some great things. I really think it's a mindset that we have to kind of adjust to our culture. It's a thing when we need to get used to our own culture. I mean, I mean, we really have to get used to our own culture. I'm going to shop at my sister's store. So when I go in there, I can't look for the discount, or, you let me get this with that, because they're trying to make it. I mean, it's not easy being a business owner and being a small business. It's not easy. And sometimes people have the mentality, if you have a business, she must be rich. She's rich, or they have it going on. No, we're working towards that. And yes, I accept that. If you say that I'm rich, I'm going to accept it. I'm claiming it in Jesus' name. I'm taking it. Hey, if you said it, I'm taking it. But we need to get out the mindset. It's just changing the way we think. And you said it earlier, Pastor Angie, it's just, changing what we're thinking. And for clinical terms, I call it reframing. We call it cognitive reframing. So when people are talking, certain things come to my mindset. And so just reframing how we see things and how we're going about things. And when we say that, yes, we have the dollars to go to Walmart, like she said, now we're thinking that I need to go and stimulate, one of the other smaller businesses, a Black-owned business. I need to get there so that your child who's with you now see you going to a Black-owned business.
That's right.
See,
Right.
so we're starting to break the generational curse.
Right.
We're starting at just those small things, that small
That's right.
step we took to go right instead of left,
Right.
change the mindset of the child too. Now
Mhm.
we're going to stimulate. Now, not mom, take me here, but take me over there to Jaleesha's restaurant so I can get a meal from there.
Right.
And I'm gonna put it out there. Some small Black business is gonna come up with a kids meal so that our kids don't have to just go to McDonald's
Yes.
and go to these other restaurants. We can have some Black businesses with some kids meals too. So, so that we gotta get it.
I think to add to what you were saying, and then I'll be quiet, is within our community, we're always looking for validation from each other. And I feel like when it comes to Black business, you have to get your own experience. It could be somebody that had a bad day that gave a negative review. And if you listen to that, you know what I'm saying, you're causing yourself to maybe not get the blessing of or being a vessel to sow into this business. So I feel like us as a culture, it's great. It's okay that you hear these things, but you have to stand apart and make sure that, okay, that was your experience.
Right.
Let's go ahead and see how it works when they make my shirt, or they make whatever I'm asking them to make, because maybe I'm not going to have that same reaction, and maybe I can, sow a word into them in regards to that. So I know that's important too, that, we do that. We do gossip, or we are a little bit negative. And I think we have to hold ourselves accountable within our own community. Say, hey, have you tried it? Well, what did they say? What do parents say to their kids when they're eating food? Don't knock it until you try it.
That's right.
Right. No, that's good that you share that. But you know where we took that model from? That's how we've over the years, the majority have handled relationships.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how, so if a relationship didn't go well, then, they'll say, well, I wouldn't, deal with them. I wouldn't fellowship with them. Well, that's your experience, huh?
Right.
That came out of the chemistry of your life and their life.
Right.
So that shaped that, and then we've taken that into other areas. So we have to learn that empowerment begins within us too. And we have to empower ourselves to not do what we used to do in order to get different results.
Right.
Because if you want different results, you've got to do something different.
Right.
But yeah, no, this is good, ladies. I really appreciate what you all are bringing to the table. My goodness. Well, Dr. Dawn, I want to ask you something, because we know that you're into the education, and speak to the best educational empowerment for students. You have students, I'm sure. We have children. In fact, I can look over our life, and as Laquita was talking about the dinner table, when Bishop and I got married some 20 plus years ago, that became the highlight of our family time. And that was dinner. And at the dinner table, we had one rule, and that was, and the bottom line was they had to be respectful, but that time was used for our children to tell us whatever they wanted to tell us. Ooh, I had to drink a lot of water. They just had to be respectful. That's how we learned what was going on in their lives, who they were hanging out with, what their feelings were. And dinner, for the most part, in our home would go a couple of hours. It was like everybody was rushing to get to the table because we knew we were going to have that dialogue. Out of that, going back to my question that I was asking, out of that, then I started talking to them about business and, being creative from what God has given them. And I look now at all of our children, and they all have another stream of income. Some are doing it part-time, some of them are doing time. And so now the goal is children. Now the goal is teaching those 15 grandchildren that we have, that they turn around and they do the
Same
same.
grace.
So
Same grace.
of course,
15.
yes, and loving every last one of them. And some of them are doing pretty well, because when they come here, I said to one, I think you're going to be a bank, you're going to deal with investments or something, because every time you come, you want to go to your poppy's dresser and, pull out as many coins as your little tiny hands can carry and transfer it to your bank. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
of some
That's
sort.
good.
Or they find something of mine and you want to buy it? Sure, I'll buy it back.
Yeah.
The education empowerment of your students, and something that would help the parents and other students who may be watching.
So I will say that one of the things that we spend a lot of time on at the school is empowerment, and understanding that God empowers us with understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. And so that knowledge and that wisdom doesn't just show up in the four walls of the building, but when we are out, because we have what's called place-based education. So we're out in the community a lot. And so our scholars were at a place in New Bern, and that's all I'm going to say. But they saw something where there was absolutely no African-American representation in a space that should have had something quite significant historically about people of color, and they didn't have it. And so you know what they did? They were like, that's unacceptable. And they were so respectful. They said, we need to write a letter to this person, because somebody went up and they said, can you tell me if you have a board? Who is the chairman of your board? We wrote a letter and they said, this is unacceptable. It's 25 Black kids and we walked in and there's nothing that looks like us. They made it very clear. They were respectful. And do you know what? They changed it. And so what was interesting was then a parent was in a situation at our local mall. And you all know, we got those big pictures up. And I don't know if anybody's been to the mall recently, but my understanding is that some of the pictures have been taken off the walls. And it was because those same kids were like, why do we have to go to the mall? And we got a Black chief and he ain't up there, but all these other people that don't look like us and they've never been in the community. And that has power. And we've got to help our children to understand that they have the power. God has placed in them the power of this tongue, which has life and death in it, and that they can enact. And so they're like, look, if they see something, we got a whole community helpers workbooks, all of these workbooks. And there was not one person, not brown, Black, nobody in the community helpers booklets. And there were like 30 of them. There was not one. And they said, well, we're going to make our own. And so they had started before COVID, literally taking pictures with different people in each one of those professions. And why could they take the pictures? Because they've already been exposed to them.
Right.
They know the Gillums over in Onslow County as a dentist. I mean, they weren't like sitting there thinking like, who? They already knew because they have been exposed to it. And that's what we have got to do. And let me tell you, for instance, in North Carolina, our parents have already gone through Hurricane Florence. So our kids missed a block of time already. Now we had COVID-19. And if the truth is told, we probably are not going to be back in school next semester. Our scholars already have been told, and we are instituting all kinds of programs to put supports around them, because COVID-19 is not playing with the Black community and we can't play with it.
Right.
So what does that mean for parents? That means that we have to step up. And if my neighbor, who happens to be my mother, but if she's at home and she's retired and she can watch the kids and help them log on, we got to become community where we help each other to be able to push the ball forward. And like you said, we are going forward. We just got to work together, and parents have to see this piece on education. I cannot say it enough, because we are in jeopardy of our children losing years worth of instructional time over the next coming weeks. That is serious. We are talking about the development of children, child development. I mean, Laquita, you can talk much better on this than I can, but when it is interrupted like this, it's like they start, they stop, they start, they stop. It has a detrimental impact. So we as parents are going to have to literally walk in and say, this is for my child's education, and what is this going to look like, and what is the impact? How are we going to catch up Johnny so that Johnny is not left in third grade when he's already being promoted to fourth?
That is so good. Wow. Thank you so much. And what I heard you say is, again, I picked up immediately one of Bishop Scott's phrases: expansion expands expectation, exposure, excuse me, expands expectations. You know, so they got exposed to it and they were able to expand their expectations for change, and they got change. That's phenomenal. That's great. Jameesha, speak about ways to bridge the community and the local government along with other organizations relating to businesses' economic empowerment.
I would say to that, the simplest answer is make sure you're registered to vote. Because local government impacts your life a lot more than, I would say, federal level where we see on TV. And if you build a relationship with your local representation and they're in your community and they know your needs, and this includes economic development for small Black business, then there's ability for them to go to their board when they're doing the budget and ask for certain monies to be allocated to do certain things in that community. And if you don't have that type of leadership in local office, you need to seek out nonprofits that kind of gear towards or gravitate to what you're trying to do. Find resources. I know community colleges have a lot of resources. And then go to a business that is similar to what you're trying to do and interview them and ask them, because to me, I feel like there's a lot of money on the table for everybody. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to get money, make money. I may do something a little bit different. We may be under the same category. Like, I'm also a realtor. I may sell houses differently, or I may help you buy a house differently than all of the other 70,000 realtors that we have in North Carolina. So I think it's mainly important to know your resources and don't be afraid to ask questions. And then the last thing I would say is, as an individual, it's important for you to read. It's important for you to read books about the business that you're trying to do. It's important for you to understand finance, because when you do try to start a business, you know, it's common knowledge that if this is something that you're going to jump into and you have that faith, that you need at least 3 years. You have to know that it's going to be a struggle for at least 3 years before you start seeing, you know, positive. So just knowing that you have that foundation, I think all of those things are really important. But again, building those relationships with key people in your community, people that have influence, people that can get resources. I mean, that is how our other brothers and sisters have done it. So it should be okay for us to do the same thing and not be ashamed of it. You know, it's about who you know. I mean, it's true. It is about who you know in some things where you may get your name bumped up on an application or a grant, or they see what you're doing. I mean, it's okay to want to have those relationships with people. Don't be afraid to go to your mayor. Don't be afraid to go to development services or go down to the city and say, hey, what lots do you have available? What's in the surplus? I mean, we sell lots at the city. People bid on them and we receive like $350, and it's just a regular lot. You could turn that into a farmer's market. You can put a table on that lot and start selling some lemonade, but you have to know what you're able to do. So that's why it's always important to read, because once you learn that knowledge, like I tell my kids, once you learn it, they can't take that away from you. They cannot take your education away from you because you learned it and you retained it. You can't take that from me. I don't care what you try to do. You might try to break me. You might try to do whatever you do, but you cannot take my education away from me and what I know. And that's important. So that's my rant.
Ooh, That is good. That is good. That's good. Well, Laquita, I've got to bring it around to you. Speak about ways we can unravel and dismantle the traumas associated with the disparities that have hindered the manifestation of economic empowerment which business owners face.
Mm. Ooh, that's a huge one. I think we spoke a lot about it earlier. We've already touched on some things. I think it's very important to break the generational trauma, and that means that we're talking about exposure. Exposure is going to be key to a lot of this. What are we exposing our children to? What are we exposing ourselves to, even as business owners? What are we exposing ourselves? Those who want to be business owners, you know, you still have to be exposed to those who are doing business. Like that saying, they say that if you want to fly with eagles, you can't spend your time with buzzers. So you have to, exposure is the key to changing that mindset. So, and the next thing I'll go to is the cognition. How we see ourselves, how we see what we do. You know, how are you speaking about what you do and want to do? Because, you know, like Jameesha said earlier, is that, you know, people coming up with ideas, you have ideas, you want to do this business, you want to, you know, it's all these creative ideas are coming up, but what do I do with it? You know, so you got to get connected, and that's where the networking comes. And right there, when you exposing, when you're connecting with other people who are moving forward, then you're definitely starting to break the generational trauma that we have faced for years. Because at some point we have to heal. We as a Black people, we have to heal. We have to allow ourselves to heal. And what has happened is we've kept an open sore for so long. And we have to, at some point, allow ourselves to heal with the trauma that we faced in our past. And our past can make us stronger at this point. So allowing ourselves to heal so that we can move forward, you know, and create more things for ourselves and expose ourselves to more things, that we have to do that. And economically, we can grow as a Black people. You know, look at the trillions of dollars that we spend. We spend money. We have no problem with spending money, and we will find a way to get what we want when we want it. You know, we're gonna do it. We want something, we find a way. So so just taking the time to do those things, exposing ourselves, exposing our children to Black businesses, you know, attending functions. We have to, so many times we've left our children. Look at some of other ethnicities that have taken their children with them, take their kids to work. Okay, we need to establish more take our children to work days. We're gonna have to do some of those things so we can break that generational trauma, because then we can start growing. Those disparities will not be there like they are now. It's time for we have to. This is a time where we're jumping on a trampoline. It's time. The Black people are jumping. It's time to grow. It's time to move up. We're gonna move forward at this point. And I think that's why it's so important right now, because there's a momentum that's in the atmosphere, and you feel it. Like it's out there. It's out there. Yeah, and we need to move. We need to move. And, you know, we have some people that are coming up with all these different scenarios where we shouldn't feel this way, or, you know, Black people are always making, you know, these people heroes. And, you know, we have all these things people saying different things. But at this time, if we can just unite as a people and move forward, you know, let's not think about how this person did this or what 45 is doing. We don't need. No, as a people, all we need to do is just unite and move forward and help each other out, empower one another.
That's it.
You know, your dollar can empower another business. I don't care if it's 50 cents. It empowers another business. Let's do it. Let's move forward.
Let's do it. That's why a Better Me empowerment is the gateway to forward movement. Because we believe in that. And right now, in fact, I want to, we're going to be let everyone go around and get ready to close out this time for me on Tuesday, I'm actually doing a free webinar for entrepreneurs. All it costs you is your time. So listen, all you need to do is text ABME Web, one word, ABME Web to 22999. Free webinar. And sewing that into your life and have some other things. But we're getting ready to wrap it up. I hate for our evening. I don't say hate, but it's something that our evening is coming to an end. But I must let each of you ladies just have a final say before we wrap this up. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Dawn.
Well, I just want to say again, Pastor Angie, thank you so much for the honor of being able to spend this time with you. It means so very much, and I honor you, and I honor Bishop Scott for all the work that you all do and continue to really blaze a trail. And we are appreciative of that. So I wanted to say that, but I wanted to leave with the thought that Stedman Graham, he was here, I guess it was last August, and he took some time and talked to our scholars. And he said to me, he said, your job is to guard their minds. And when I really took that in, he said, because you have a responsibility for what they will see and what they will experience. You have the responsibility their mind, what our responsibilities are for our children, for our communities. And so one of the books that I think is really powerful is a book I use for my doctoral work, which is Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And this book, when I tell you, and it's Be the Healing. And so it's America's legacy of enduring injury and healing, post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it is an amazing read. And I think the Councilwoman was just saying about how important reading is. And that is so true, because she's going to talk about riots and who was really rioting during. And so it was written years ago, but she does it from the Rodney King perspective. But it's the very same thing, because what we tell every single scholar in the school, I don't care where you see them, you can walk up to them and say, you are condemned to repeat it. And she reminds us of so many things, of how we do things. Like when you see a child and somebody says, oh, that's such a good child, they did so well in school. Girl, you don't know how they are. They be acting crazy at home. Because we were trained that way because of slavery, so that the master would not think that this child is exemplary or smart and get sold away or get beat. And so we have had these things that are going on. But like you said, Deaconess Laquita, guess what? We can deal with this generational trauma. And I'm thankful to be a part of this process.
Oh my goodness. Good, good, good. Thank you for joining us again tonight, Dr. Dawn. Jameesha, and listen, I failed to mention Talina. She was a part of our group also a couple of weeks ago and brought some oomph to the table as well. So you give her our blessings. We invite her to join us today, but she had a personal matter she needed to tend to. But you just give her our love and our blessings. What would you like to wrap up with?
Well, I want to follow what Dr. Dawn said. I appreciate having this platform to be able to speak, to be able to be amongst just exceptional Black women. That's very powerful. The last thing I would say is, as a young entrepreneur, I want entrepreneurs to know that you can do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Pray, listen to God. And if he moves you to do this, then have confidence that it's going to be successful.
That's good. That's real good. Thank you for being a part of the platform again. So glad to have had you. Deaconess Laquita.
Yes. Yeah, there's so many, you guys said so many great things. And yes, I am honored to be here, and just, it's great. I can't say enough. When I think about the economics and Black businesses, and sometimes starting Black businesses, I had to be reminded that I started a business before. And so I just wanted to leave people who maybe there's someone out there who I tried and I started and, you know, it didn't work for me, or maybe this is not meant for me. You know, that's not true. That's not necessary. You know, my husband and I own and operated 2 level 3 group home facilities, you know, and so, but when the state made changes, we kind of moved from it with all the changes that was occurring. It was just a lot to take in. So it took a while for me to go, okay, I should have already opened one before. And I'm like, okay, is this meant for me to do? Should I be doing this? And that's what I'm talking about, that mindset. Yes, it is. It's meant for you to do it. We have to change our mindsets, and we cannot allow fear to overtake us. So my biggest saying with even the children and families that I work with is our response that makes a difference in everything we do in life. It's how you respond to it. So I would say to those that are out there that make sure that you give that positive response. Make sure that you understand that as a Black business owner, Black is beautiful, bold, Black is quality. We're going to change the name and the label of Black. Black in all shades is beautiful, bold, and is quality in all shades. So we have to step out and we have to do it. You can create that business. You can do it.
I got one last thing to say from what Deaconess was saying is that I think it's important to make sure you definitely have a close relationship with God and know the difference when he's speaking to you, because he may not speak directly to you. He may speak through somebody else. And that's what happened with my husband. My husband told me, what, it's going on 4 years now. He said, you need to get your real estate license. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm 4 years strong and now I'm a big. So if I wanted to open up my own real estate firm, I can, because I have all of the credentials. So be careful, you know, that when you're dealing with business and things that you want to do and you're praying, God might send an angel or a vessel to you. And I'm not perfect in the word. I'm like the furthest, but I do know that, you know, with business and anything like that, that it may not come directly to you through God. It may come through somebody else to say, hey, you should really do that. And that might be the conviction that you need to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Oh, you in the Bible. You in the Bible.
I'm in Genesis.
Listen, and as Deacon Laquita was speaking, it made me think about one of my favorite scriptures, and then I piggyback off of Bishop Scott until I hear another scripture, and that becomes my favorite. But Romans 8:37, God's word translation, says, the one who loves us gives us overwhelming victory in all these difficulties. So no matter what the difficulty is, you've got to understand that because God loves you, he's going to give you not just victory, but overwhelming victory. Well, when the time victory shows up and you experience it and taste it and see it, you're going to say, and others are going to know, if it had not been for the Lord on your side, where would you be? Only God could have done that. Amen. So you all have been of great encouragement, so much so that I actually got a text asking if you all have cash apps, if somebody was interested in sowing into your life. So Laquita, do you have a cash app and you can give your information online? We can't hear you. You're muted.
It's a blessing. Unmute.
Yeah, unmute, honey, for your blessing.
Yes, I do have a cash app.
Okay, would you like to give it?
Yes. Okay, it's the $, and it's Lala, Lala, Courman, Courman.
My God, such a blessing.
Amen.
Listen, thank you so much. Jameesha, would you like to give yours?
Yes, ours is for our nonprofit, because a dollar saves a life. It is $YUPENC, yup, ENC. Let me just make sure it's not an ink. I'll let her go and then I'll follow up. I might have it wrong.
Okay, Dr. Dawn, what is yours?
We are doing school supply fundraising. So I would ask people if they would like to go to those kids. And it's the money symbol Peloton, capital PELOTON. P-E-L-E-T-A-H. And that's
Wow.
money symbol, capital P-E-L-E-T-A-H. Thank you so much for that
Yeah,
opportunity.
it's amazing that people are asking how can they sow into your
Mhm.
lives. You're still looking yours, Jameesha?
Yeah,
Yes,
and
but
I need to make a correction while she's still looking. Are you still
Okay.
looking, Jameesha?
yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So it's still the dollar sign, but it's a capital L
Okay.
A-L-A Courman, C-O-U-R-M-A-N.
Okay. I
Beautiful.
I was correct. It was $YUPENC. And then Miss Dawn, I want to make a commitment that I'm gonna donate $100 to the fundraiser.
Mhm,
It's recorded. Let me hit you on the I'm gonna donate on July 3rd.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
We got you
And
covered,
you can,
Dr. Don.
yes,
Wait,
you can
wait a
expect
minute,
to receive from Bishop
Dr.
Scott.
Angie. Wait a minute, she didn't give hers. The
Oh,
pastor
Okay.
hers.
Okay. So, I would direct you to sow into Refreshing Lives Church in this $ Refreshing Lives, Lives. Dr. Don Peloton can expect to receive a seed from Bishop Scott and I as well. Hey, look, you guys have been great as always. This is a part of our Be Better Summer series. I've had today as my guest, Deaconess Laquita Courman, who is a business owner in the New Bern area. If you need some type of therapy, counseling, check her out. I have with me also today, Alderwoman Jameesha Harris, a shaker and a mover. If you live in her area, I'm telling you right now, we know things are happening to the good, and she's also a part of the ENC. And then we have Dr. Dawn Baldwin Gibson, who she and her husband have started Peloton Church Ministries along with the Peloton Academy. So listen, you stay connected. Again, I want to invite you to register for the Entrepreneur webinar, free webinar, Zoom webinar that will take place on Tuesday, June 30th at 7 p.m. Text ABME Web, one word, ABME Web, one word, to 22999. Also, I invite you to join our A Better Me Empowerment text community. If you want to get in on the community, by the way, if you text for the webinar, provide your name and your email address, for the webinar. If you just want to stay in the know in our community, our Better Me Empowerment community, just text ABME to 22999, ABME to 22999. I thank you so much for being a part of today. I do want to let you know, because I do wear many hats, all assigned by the Lord, but I do want to let you know that tonight at 11:45 p.m., I'm doing a clarion call to pray. I'm praying for families, and I'm praying also for pastors, their family, and their churches. And so you can hop on to the prayer line. If you want to be a part of that special time of prayer, you would dial in to 712-770-5604. That number again is 712-770-5604, with the access code being 782943. 782943. Somebody might ask, why are you waiting till 11:45 at night to pray? Well, because I believe in strategies. I believe in strategic prayers. And at 11:45, we're 15 minutes away from going into the third watch. And if you know anything about the third watch, that's where the realm of darkness and the activities of the enemy seem to pick up. Well, we're going to head it off, and we're coming in at 11:45 before it gets started. So listen, if you desire me to pray for you, your pastor, your church, or what have you, you can actually send a text to 55888, and in that text just put your prayer request, or you can put put your church's name and your pastor's name. We're doing warfare for the kingdom of God. Amen. So I wanted to mention that to you as well. Also, there is a peaceful march. A peaceful march is taking place tomorrow. And go ahead, Dr. Dawn.
Somebody's asking on one of the watch parties, can you give the number one more time for the 11:45 call?
Oh,
Sorry.
yes, that's okay. Call 712-770-5604. That number for 11:45 p.m. Clarion Call Prayer is 712-770-5604, access code 782943, 782943. You can text your prayer request to 555-888, and also put in the name of your church if you're affiliated with a church. There is power in prayer, and I'll save that for 11:45 p.m. But there's a peaceful that starts tomorrow at 12 noon in the 5 Points area going to Union Point. And so we want to bring that to your attention. We're asking those who are planning to attend to please wear your mask. And so I don't know if Jameesha wants to add anything to that.
No, I just have the same information. We're going to pray when you get on that prayer line tonight. Please pray that we don't have any rain or thunder.
Yeah.
But definitely I'll be there in support. It's going to be powerful. And I'll be wearing my face mask because COVID is real.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And then I want to thank, I can't say enough about him, but if it wasn't for him being my pusher, perhaps I would not be doing this tonight. I want to give a big shout out to Bishop Ronald Lee Scott, my warrior, whose name means warrior, mighty man of God who is leading in a great way in our church. He's a community leader. He's serving down at Pamlico Community College. He's an instructor in the prison system, and a strong family man, and who loves God and who loves God's people. So I would definitely want to give a shout out to him. Please thank your spouses and your family for freeing you all up to be with me tonight. Oh, I just had a blast with you. Awesome, beautiful Black women of God.
Amen.
Thank you. And to our audience, thank you so much for being a part of